Hello everyone, it's Joushy Boy here and welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be talking about a book series that is very special to my heart, and it's Alex Rider. I grew up with these books and I must have read them all about 10 times. I love them so much, so I thought it'd be a very interesting idea to do like a little ranking video for all the way from worst to best. This includes all the books from Stormbreaker all the way to Nightshade Revenge. I'm not going to include Secret Weapon just because that's like a short story one and it doesn't really count, but apart from that, all 13 books are going to be included. To kick things off, in 13th place, and the worst Alex Rider book by some distance in my opinion, it's Nightshade Revenge. This is disappointing. It's the newest one in the series, and it's a direct sequel from Nightshade, which wasn't a terrible book to be fair, but it was really disappointing. So if you couldn't have guessed, it's about Nightshade taking revenge. They're a baddie organisation that Alex stopped in Nightshade, but they're not done yet, they're not finished. So this book's kind of about Alex going to finish them off. And I just thought it was really poor. It felt rushed, especially the ending. The characters were poor. The main villain in it was absolutely terrible. They tried to make it jazzy by using like augmented reality and all that, trying to make it modern, but it was just so silly. It was pointless, and it just kind of took away anything that the first book did. The ending is awful, like I've said, because Nightshade has a lot of brainwashed like children / young adults. I think they're like 14, 15 years old, most of them anyway. And they basically get convinced overnight to kill all these teachers who they've looked up to all their lives and thought they were kind of like gods or primes or whatever. So it's completely stupid, it's rushed, doesn't make any sense, and I either want a rewrite or a refund because I paid money for this and I'm disappointed, and it's easily 13th. It could have been 14th or even 15th, but there's not that many books. Now, in 12th place, a book that is slightly better but still doesn't do it for me, it's Never Say Die. If you couldn't guess, I'm not a fan of the new books, and especially this one. I really don't like this book, to be honest. I don't think the plot overall is too bad. I think the Grimaldi brothers are quite interesting, but at the same time they're quite a weak villain. Like, they just weren't explored enough. They're just the basic baddie twins who do everything at the same time. They're just not that exciting either. And my least favourite thing about this book is the fact that they bring back Jack. Just why? It took away all the gravity of the last book. So yeah, it was meant to finish after Scorpia Rising, and then like 10 years later the writer wanted to carry on, so we carry on with this one, and he basically undoes all the bad events to Alex in this book. It's really disappointing for me. I think the plot isn't great either. I don't really care for the steel claw scheme. I think it's a bit far-fetched using a big magnet to pick up a school bus. What is that all about? I know Alex Rider can be far-fetched at times, but for me it just didn't feel like a proper one. And I do like the storyline of Alex looking for Jack, and I think it's a very, it's nice for him, but I wish she weren't alive. And I really like Jack, but it's just, you can't kill off a character and then just go 10 years later as well, no, I don't want them dead actually. It was just such an interesting point where Alex has been through all so much and he's finally like felt a consequence, because up till the last book there was no consequence of like all of Alex's missions. He's made it out fine. But like, finally, this last mission, something bad happened. And then this book stood in and just went, no, actually, I feel bad. Rubbish book, disappointed, I want my money back again. In 11th place now, and moving on to one of the 9 original books. It's going to surprise a few people. It's Stormbreaker. I feel really bad for putting it this high. But it's just not for me, this book. Whenever I like reread or re-listen to them on an audiobook, this is the one I either skip or just don't really enjoy. And, it's the first book, isn't it? It's an introduction one. And I do enjoy, like, the first half of it where, like, it sets up Alex's life, his uncle's died and all that sort of thing. But the actual mission is by far the worst one in the entire series, I think. Especially the storyline. Compared to the others, it's just stupid. The main villain, basically, he just wants to kill a load of school children because he got bullied at school when he was younger. It's just a bit ridiculous and far-fetched that, like, he makes these new computers, puts a lot of poison in them and plans to kill, like, thousands of school children. Like, what's the aim, really, apart from just a bit of petty revenge? Like, it felt very childish, this one, which was, it's always going to. It's the first one. It's still a good book. It has some good moments. Overall, compared to the others anyway, it's, like, the standout worst of the original 9 for me. No offence, I still love it because it made the series what it is, but yeah, 11th place. Moving on to the top 10 now, and in 10th place we have the original Nightshade. out of the three main story books since like the reboot of Alex Rider, this is definitely the best for me. It's the only one I actively enjoyed and thought was really, really interesting. I really liked the idea of Alex going back to that prison. Thought it was very cool. They do love Julius Grief. They're obsessed with him in all the books at the minute, aren't they? Thought it was a really interesting idea, and I think all the scenes in the prison were probably my favourite period of the book. After that, I suppose it went off a little bit. I weren't as much as a fan. I didn't really like Jack and Tom getting all involved in Alex's missions. It just felt a little bit cheesy and gimmicky. It's nice to have like a fresh new idea rather than just going, oops, Scorpia are back, or remember these baddies, or something like that. It's something a little bit new, isn't it? They've created a full thing. And Nightshade's a really interesting idea, you know, they kidnapped loads of children and brainwashed them into, like, not caring about their lives and all that. I thought that was cool. Didn't really care for the baddies in terms of, like, the teachers. I feel like they've got no aura, if you know what I mean. Like, all the other baddies in the books, they're like, classic, but there's 4 teachers who you don't really ever learn much about. It's definitely the best of the 3 reboot books, but compared to the others, it's still not the best. It's not a bad book. Like, this is the only one which I will say I have a good opinion on, but it could be better, couldn't it? That's why it is 10th place. Okay, so I feel like we're at a point now where I've got all the books I have any, like, sort of problem with out of the way, and the rest of these I do really like. In 9th place now, we have Crocodile Tears. I feel like any book I would have put 9th feels really harsh now, because I'm genuinely a big fan of all of them. But this one for me is probably the weakest. I think by this point the structure is probably just getting a little bit boring. It's a little bit plain, and I think I do really like Desmond McCain as the villain. I think he's an interesting villain, but at the same time, it's just another one of them of, ooh, he's a nice guy, you know what I mean? Like a changed man sort of thing. And I don't think he was going for a plot twist, Anthony Horowitz anyway, but it was just the most obvious thing in the world that it was going to be a baddie, isn't it, really? Like, he does a fake charity, and I think the whole charity idea is really interesting, that they, like, orchestrate disasters so they can get money off it and be, like, the first to help. Thought that was interesting, but by this point, the structure just gets a little bit old. It's the same old story. And it's not my favourite mission anyway, where Alex goes. He gets kidnapped and all that sort of thing, and he's stuck in somewhere in Africa. I think it's Kenya. He's, like, stuck over there. Bit awkward for him, innit? And it's a good book, and I will happily reread, re-listen to it and all that. But it's 9th place. Now in 8th place. And this will cause a bit of upset, I know. It's Scorpia. And this is probably my most controversial Alex Rider opinion. I just don't think it's one of the best books. I don't know what it is. I just think there's something about it that doesn't sit quite right with me. It's just not my favourite. Every time I re-listen to it, I do enjoy it, but I think the others are just a little bit stronger. I'm not sure what it is. I think Scorpia is really interesting and all that, and I think learning about Alex's dad is really interesting as well, but I just think it's maybe the way that Mrs. Rodman's, like, kind of being all nicey to Alex, and it turns out she wanted to kill him the entire time. I just feel like that never really made much sense, because I think she'd just kill him in the first place rather than, you know, try and set him up as a killer knowing he's not going to be, just to kill him anyway. I don't know, I think that whole bit just, I know it's for the plot, isn't it? You wouldn't have a book without it, but it just felt a little bit unrealistic that she was trying to make him a killer while, like, setting him up to die anyway, because it just felt a bit risky. There are some really strong points to this book as well. I really like the ending as well, where Alex learns the truth about his dad, and that he was actually a good guy. And then when Alex gets shot as well, that is a big moment, and that was a good moment as well. I did enjoy that. I think Niall's a really interesting character as well. Part of it just feels a little bit like it's not my favourite, and that's just down to opinion. It does nothing wrong, honestly. It's just my opinion, and there's 7 books better than it, I think. Scorpia, a 8th place. Now we're getting onto the books I really do like, and from this point it was, like, impossible to actually choose where to put the books. I think these next 4 could have gone in any order at all. I did not know where to put them, so they're all quite even. So from like 7th till 4th, they could have gone anywhere, mix and match them. It is Eagle Strike. This did used to be one of my favourite books, but I think the more I've reread other ones, I do slightly prefer it to this, but I do really, really like this story. I think Damien Crane might be one of my favourite villains. I'm not too sure why. He's just, like, entertaining, isn't he? He's a funny guy. He's a bit of a comic relief guy. He's just having a good time, isn't he? He doesn't think he's that much of a baddie. I always quite like a villain when they're thinking they're doing the right thing and they're just trying to nuke half the world. I suppose that doesn't really make too much sense. He doesn't like drugs because they destroy people, and then he just thinks he's going to fire all these nuclear bombs everywhere. Like, there's a better way you can go about it, Damien. but whatever. Charlie Roper's death was really cool as well. If you don't know, a load of pennies got dropped on him because it was like, oh, I want my money, Damien. And Damien was like, I'm going to give you my money. And then he gives it him just in like quarters or whatever. And obviously like there's a lot of quarters in the room, so he just gets crushed and killed, which is crazy. I do really like the plot of this. I think it is really good. I like the whole setup as well of this is the one book where MI6 don't help Alex at all. They just literally don't believe him. So he's out on his own, takes down Damien Cray, although it is a very sad death in this book, which is weird because he's one of the main villains. But Yasin Gregorovich does get killed by Damien Cray, and it's sad. And then in his last words, he speaks about Alex's dad and say that they knew each other, say that he saved his life because he's like a big scar on his neck. And that sets up Scorpia of Alex finding out about his dad, saying, I need to stop talking on about it, otherwise I'll be here all day. And it's 7th place. In 6th place now, and another book I really, really enjoyed. It's Archangel. I don't know what about this book like made me really enjoy it. I think the whole thing of it, just how the plot kind of unfolded, because we were kind of left in the dark a lot about this terrorist group called Force 3? Yeah, Force 3. They're this like terrorist organisation that go against anyone who anything bad for the world, because they're called Force 3 because the Earth's the 3rd planet away from the sun, and they hate anyone who's like polluting or anything like that. But then it turns out this was actually set up by Nikolai Drevin. He had this big space station up in the sky, but it turns out he's a big criminal, and he knows that America are writing a big file on him and they're planning to get him arrested. And also this big space station is making him very, very poor. So he decides he can like kill 2 birds with 1 stone by it can crash the space station out of the sky, make it land on the Pentagon where all the evidence is against him. So he clears his name and then he gets his money back because he's insured. And he sets up this organisation called Force 3 so he frames them basically for it, so he's not guilty. It's a really clever book, I think, and it's really interesting to see. And then obviously Alex Rider goes to space at the end. Obviously, it's just what you expect, isn't it? With that, Archangel is the 6th book, and it's also in 6th place. Now, into the top 5 Europa League places. It is Skeleton Key. This was a book that's grown on me over time. When I used to read them, I actually skipped it on my first read. I just got a bit bored towards the end, and I'm not sure why. But I think as you mature a bit, you kind of realise what a good book it is and how deep it is. I think Saharov's a really interesting character. He sees Alex as the son he lost, which is quite obvious because he wants to adopt him. Really dark book as well because he kills himself in the end. He shoots himself because Alex doesn't want to be adopted by him, and it's just too much for him all to handle. So he shoots himself. I think he's one of my favourite villains, definitely. And this book could have easily been a bit higher, but I just prefer the others. And Conrad might be one of my favourite like character designs, although we never see him because he got blown up and like stitched back together. He's like, his body's a whole mess basically. He's got a load of metal in him. He's got like half his hair's like short, half his hair's long. He's just limping all around. He can't really walk properly or anything like that. And he dies as well from being like sucked up in a magnet because he's metal, which is crazy as well. It's a great book. I really like this one. It's one of the most underrated as well. I just think Sarov and Conrad are both really, really interesting. And the dynamic with Alex is just really good. So yeah, 5th place, and it could be better. Now, heading to the Champions League spots. In 4th place is... I don't actually have this book because I've lost it. I can't find it, but it's Point Blank. I really love this book. It's probably the book that's most different to the rest, like in terms of like the main Alex Rider stories anyway. I really, really enjoy it. It's quite creepy. I remember the audiobook used to terrify me because it had like little piano music and stuff at parts, and it's really creepy. Basically, this is about a school that is meant for troubled kids, and they're all rich. So a bunch of like rich kids get sent there, and then they're meant to make them good and send them back. But it turns out there's actually like a cloning thing going on, and they're replacing the kids by like using plastic surgery. Big man, Dr. Hugo Grief is behind it. He's the head teacher, and like 15 years ago he cloned himself like 20 odd times or whatever for this school. So all the boys like 14, 15 who go, and when a boy comes in, they'll like analyze him. They'll do plastic surgery on the clone of Hugo, and then they'll basically swap him. So yeah, they go back and they have all this wealth. And that's a big plan basically, so they can take over the world almost sort of thing. He's a baddie anyway, and he's some bad beliefs as we learn, but it's a really, really good book. I really like this one. It's creepy, and I just like the way it all unfolds. And then at the end we get to see a big enemy of Alex's, because Alex goes as a spy, but he doesn't know. They're making a clone out of him as well. So there's a clone Alex called Julius Grief, and he is quite the baddie, and they have a fight at the end. Point Blank, great book, and it's 4th place. Moving on to the top 3, and in 3rd place is a book I didn't really appreciate when I read it until very recently actually, probably in the last year or so. It's grown on me so much to the point where it's 3rd place. It's Snakehead, and what a book this is. I'm not too sure what it is that I really like about it, but I just think the ending and the way it all wraps up is so good. It's so perfect. It starts with Alex crashing down from space after the 6th book, and then he has like a little bad dream and stuff, and then it says Scorpia's back, and it's a really cool and like chilling opening. It's so cold, honestly. Ooh, shivers down my spine. It's really good. And then basically Alex, and he learns he has a godfather called Ash. So for this one, Alex actually heads to Australia for most of it, where him and his godfather act as illegal immigrants because they want to see how it's all done so they can prevent it. Scorpia's a thing, yep. And then one of the Scorpia members, called Winston Yu, he's in charge of this Snakehead, which is like an illegal big gang sort of thing. So it's about them and how they smuggle people through and do all these crimes and that, so that Alex kind of takes them down and that sort of thing. But we do learn a sad thing towards the end, that Ash, Alex's godfather, was actually working against Alex, and he actually works for Scorpia, which was absolutely mad to listen to at the time. And he does get shot, and he's dying that it's revealed to Alex, because Alex walks into a room, someone's shot, and he sees that it's Ash, and then he tells him his story, and he actually learns that it's his own godfather who killed his parents, who set the bomb off to kill them. That for me is probably why it's one of my favourite. I think Ash is such a good character, he's so underrated. You don't really see any claim for him, but I really, really like Ash. I just think he's so interesting, he's such a baddie. And for all them reasons, number 3 is Snakehead. Top 2 now. 2nd place, just missing out on the gold, Scorpia Rising. This is the final book of the series before the reboot, so this is really where it should end. Don't know what's going on with this cover, by the way. Don't know if it's me who's like gone over this with a compass, just like ruining it, but yeah, I've done that. So if these are ever valuable, then I can forget the dream of selling them, can't I? No, this book is genuinely so good. My favourite Alex Rider theme book anyway. It's so good. And remember Julius Grief, who I talked about earlier? Well, he's one of the main baddies for this, because it starts with his prison escape, and it's such a good escape. He gets inside help, he gets a gun, manages to get out, and he actually fakes his death, but he's alive, and then he's used later in the book. It's about Alex finally going back to school, but then there's a school shooting and he's in danger, so he needs to leave the country and go to this place in Egypt, a school where they're investigating the new head of security, Eric Gunter. But the interesting thing about this, that is exactly what Scorpia want. They orchestrated for Alex to be sent over here. We actually learned that it is the head of MI6, Alan Blunt, who orchestrated the school shooting, because he's heard of this problem in Egypt. He knows only Alex can solve it, so he's like, we'll do a school shooting to scare Alex, so we'll have to send him to Egypt. So he's played right into Scorpia's hands. They made him look a right mug, to be honest. Alex is over in Egypt. Jack goes with him as well. Yeah, Jack's with him as well. And they're just looking into Eric Gunter, but he was never really much of a problem. He was just used to lure Alex. So then Jack eventually gets kidnapped, which is bad. Alex goes to rescue her. They're both in a prison in Egypt. The main baddie for this book is Abdul Razim, who has an interest in pain. He likes pain, so he's like doing an experiment on Alex where he causes him pain, but this time it's emotional pain, and he puts up a little TV screen, and Alex watches as Jack, like, she manages to escape quite easily because they've set up for her to escape, and then they blow up a car so she dies, and Alex is like gutted because, you know, like, basically his parent, equivalent of his parents, dead. Obviously it's all taken away when we read Nightshade Revenge and it turns out she was alive, which is stupid, so we're not going to talk about that. I like to think Jack is dead. I think it just makes more sense. It makes this book so much more meaningful as well. Really heartbreaking for Alex, and then he does manage to take down Razim, all of his plans. He manages to kill Julius Grief, his clone, as well. So it all comes to a nice happy ending in the end. Although, no, it's a bittersweet ending actually, and he gets kind of adopted by Sabina's family, if you remember her, his like kind of girlfriend sort of thing, and they go to America because that's where they live now, and we suppose they live happily ever after. It's so unlucky to miss out on the #1 spot. It just misses out, but what a freaking book. Number 2. And if you've not figured out by now, that means that the #1 spot goes to Russian Roulette. And I suppose this isn't really like an Alex Rider book, if that makes sense. It's about Yasin Grigorovich and his life. He's a killer who we said died in the 4th book. But we learn about all of his past and what basically made him to become a killer. He's a kid growing up in a small town in Russia, and then there's like some sort of leak at the factory, and then the Russian government don't want this coming out, so they actually bomb it all. It's like a dangerous virus, anthrax, I think, but like a bad kind of it that leaks out. The Russian government are like, oh, we can't be having this, so they bomb it all, kill all the people who live there. But he manages to escape. He's the only person who escapes. And we see him escape, goes to Moscow, tries to live his life, and then when robbing someone, he gets kidnapped by them and he becomes their slave for like 4 years. He lives a horrible life. He escapes again, and then he finds Scorpia, because the people who like he escaped with work for Scorpia. He goes with them. He becomes a killer basically, but he really doesn't want to, so he decides to escape. Well, not escape, he decides to leave his life. And he also works with Alex's dad a lot on this, and he really looks up to Alex's dad. And Alex's dad is like, no, you shouldn't be a killer, you're not cut out for this. He's been all like that because obviously he's a spy, but Yasin didn't know it. But then he sees something he had in his bag and he realises, oh, he's a British spy, and he gets mad. Yasin is not happy. Then he decides to live his revenge. Not on John though, on the guy who kidnapped him all them years ago. It's called Russian Roulette because Yasin was forced to play Russian Roulette when he was first kidnapped by this man. So he goes back to his kidnapper's house. He gets a gun, puts 5 bullets in it, so there's one empty chamber. He spins it and he puts it against his own head, and he's literally like, I'm going to kill myself now, but if I don't, that's like destiny saying I should stay alive and be a killer. He's done everything to not be an assassin, but it just seemed like it's happening for him. He shoots, doesn't kill him, and then he kills his kidnapper and all that. Runs away and becomes a big assassin. Freaking hell, that's a mouthful, isn't it? What a book though. It's such a good book. My favourite book, probably ever. I really, really like it. It's my lifelong dream to make a film on this book one day. If I'm ever a film director and do it. Oh, I'm a happy chappy, let's just say that. But yeah, it's an amazing book. I'd fully recommend it. You don't actually have to read the rest of the Alex Riders to read this one. It's like a standalone book really, which makes it even better. So yeah, if you have this book at home or anything like that, I would recommend to read it and let me know what you think of it. So yeah, number 1 place, Russian Roulette. So to quickly wrap up that, 13th place, Nightshade Revenge. 12th place, Never Say Die. 11th, Stormbreaker. 10th, Nightshade. 9th, Crocodile Tears. 8th, Scorpia. 7th, Eagle Strike. 6th, Archangel. 5th, Skeleton Key. 4th, Point Blank. 3rd, Snakehead. 2nd, Scorpia Rising. And number 1, Russian Roulette. I've been Joushy Boy. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye. Oh, frick.